And we are live. Welcome to another edition of A Book and a Beverage with the Honorable Corey Ratliff, who is actually doubling as our first Spiff No guest as well. So, welcome to the
Hey,
show.
congratulations. You're number one, non-select.
Yeah.
So, this is the honor that you get. You're not in the competition, but you get to talk to
Yeah.
us. So,
Yeah. There we go. Everything
So-
helps.
How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. I'm a little exhausted, but I'm good. I do construction, so out in the sun all day, all week. It's been hot here in Ohio. It's been upper 80s. It hit 91, I think, day before yesterday. So as you can see, I'm pretty tan.
It's not supposed to be that hot in Ohio, man.
I know.
Not in May, at least.
No,
Whatever.
I'm not
So
looking forward to the summer.
Was this the first year you tried to join Spiffbo?
Yeah. Yep. Well, I was going to join last year, and I had timers and stuff set for my first book in this new series, and I missed the window
It was
because it
very
closed.
small window, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean they capped it at 300. It closed in like 41 minutes or something like that, and I missed it. So this year I said I'm not going to miss it, and then they announced that they were changing the rules and everything like that. And despite that, I still put it in like at like 9:13 or something like that. It was like 9 o'clock my time that it opened up, and like 9:13 I had mine in. So I had all day, but
How do you feel about the rule change?
I think it's fair. I mean, you got that many people trying to get in. You only got so many book reviewers. You only got so many bloggers and so many readers. SPO, FBO. I mean, it took just until what 3 weeks ago to announce the winner of SPO FBO 9.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And if it took that long, there was, aside from having double the amount of teams, there was no way for them to do it in another year with literally twice the amount of people. So I think with it being randomized, I think, yeah, I'm bummed I didn't get in, but I'm happy with the results. A lot of people got in. A lot of people that I could have swore got in didn't because it was randomized. So
Yeah, I saw several people saying that they didn't think the new system was fair, and I'm like, it's randomized. That is the very definition of fair.
Right. It couldn't be any fairer than that. But I mean, you're
Right.
working across 20 time zones or whatever it is.
yeah, and Mark even Mark Lawrence, he even posted on Twitter that he had one of his friends, I can't remember who it was, but one of his friends that he wanted to be in the competition and they didn't even get in because it was randomized.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's no other fair way to do it.
EL here actually makes a good point. Because someone on our show last night said that they were in it one year and they got bounced in the first round. And then the next year they resubmitted the same book and it made it to the finals.
That was Wick Welker that's for the Space Bow because they let you resubmit. Because he said that he bounced the first round. He's like, I think it's better than that. So he tried it again and made it to the finals. And actually, Anna Ellis, she did the same thing, and she was a semifinalist this year. She got bounced in the first round. So I mean, I don't know. I always tell people the idea that you're going to pick the best book is Yeah,
and not only that, but it's fantasy, but it's so vast, the subgenres, the subcategories of what everybody has and what's trending, what's popular now.
Yeah.
This year might be something that half the people are like, oh, I've seen this shit before, and then next year everybody's like, well, I haven't read this book or this style of book or this subgenre for a year now, and then everybody's hyped about it. So I think the whole system was fair, and I'll resubmit next year. I'll try it again. I was pretty devastated at first. I was like, no, because I put a lot of hope into it, and then when it didn't happen, I was pretty devastated. And my initial reaction was I wasn't going to do it again next year. After I got over that shock of it, I decided that I'll go ahead and put it in again next year. If it makes it, if not, if not. I think a lot of people are mad because they were banking on this as the marketing ploy.
Yeah. Well,
I wasn't.
I did that last year, so I can tell you that as a marketing employee, this does not do all the work for you. You still have to, yeah.
You're not rich yet, Mike?
Rich in spirit.
Not quitting that job yet?
I'm full of a lot of things, but money is not one of them.
Never a truer word been spoken.
EL is well on his way to getting banned before the 30-minute mark.
Yeah. So what are you writing right now, Corey?
I'm writing Elmerian Chronicles Book 3, which is Embers of a Fractured Soul. I haven't done the
nice title.
The cover reveal for that will be coming on June 12th, which is the day that I released Book 1. So I'm going to do a whole promo of on June 12th, the birthday of Book 1. I'm going to put Book 1, 2, and the novella up for free on the ebooks.
Nice.
And then I got a bunch of people lined up to share the cover reveal of it and try to do my due diligence of self-pub marketing.
And how do you find that? Is that an enjoyable task for you?
These days, yes.
Really? I did not expect that.
Well,
answer, honestly.
Well, I usually, or when I first started, no, I hated it. Didn't know what I was doing. My network was very small, and now I find a lot of things in building. I found a lot of friends. I find a lot of solid help. The writing community itself, other authors, and then getting to meet other booktubers or bloggers anything like that. I get to meet a lot of people, and through that, more people end up getting into my books, and then, that's always the benefit of it. And so these days, it doesn't seem so much like a task as it does opportunities, I think. So,
yeah. Are you having pretty good success with your marketing campaigns?
A lot of people have asked me lately how I've managed to, strike what success I have, which is small compared to a lot of people, but compared to what I was the first 2 years I was writing, I'm 9,000% ahead of where I was. I think a lot of things attributed to that, but when I changed my book cover, there was this whole debacle I had with, there was some AI art that I ended up choosing that I didn't know was AI art. I ended up changing my cover, posted it. That got a lot of eyes on it because it looked cool. It was a lot different. I went from a black theme to a white theme. That made it pop a lot more. And then,
those covers are brilliant, by the way. Those look really nice. You got one to hold up?
Yeah, I got all of them. So this is the novella.
Nice.
Okay.
And then this is book 1. And then I don't have the actual official copy yet. It's supposed to be coming next week, I think. But and then this is book 2.
Let's see the side of that bad boy. Wow. There's a few words in there.
It's 679 pages. It's 186,000 words.
Oof.
Oh, you missed my cutoff. You can't read it now. It's too big for it.
Yeah. Too heavy to hold.
Book 3 right now is I'm projecting about 247,000, 248,000 words.
Wow.
And then I've already plotted book 4, which is projecting about 320,000 words. So definitely getting bigger. But so somebody reached out and told me that the dragon I had chosen might be AI. And that was pretty devastating because all of a sudden all my books were getting, at least Whispers of Worldbreaker was getting a lot of hype. And I have a firm stance against AI art. So I immediately took down the post and then posted, that I won't be using it despite everybody's interest in it and hype and stuff like that. And then and Shelley Campbell reached out to me. She's an author and the artist who did these. And she she offered to make my dragons for me. And so far she's done all of them. She's already done the one for book 3, which will be revealed here in a couple weeks. And then she's going to be working on book 4. So I think she'll be my go-to artist from now on.
Well,
She
certainly at least for that series, yeah.
Yeah, and she definitely saved, a lot on this, because what I ended up switching to from the AI art to what I was going to put was not nearly as good as this. She took a lot of, especially this one. She took a lot of information about the dragon in this, which is Eldris. And I've seen a lot of dragons in books before, and despite that, I think these are some of the best ones I've seen. Has a sense of realism. It has its own style to it, and things like that. So, after she decided to do that, then it got posted around a little bit about the whole AI deal. Patrick Leo, he told about it on his channel and a few others, and that sparked a lot of people's eyes on it. And I think, I'm hoping that the story of book one is what brought a lot of people on, because then I ran a pre-order for book two, and I hit 250 pre-orders on book two. So it's just kind of a snowball effect now. Getting readers and then reaching out to other people. I've had other people reach out to me, and so I just keep pushing it and try to find more people.
Have you looked into an audiobook for those monsters?
Yep. Book one actually has an audiobook.
Okay.
But then my narrator is not going to be able to do book two, or at least not. He's not going to be able to hold the same deal. So I have a new narrator. His name's David Winter. He's working on book two. So he went through and read book one and two first, and then decided that he would take them on. And he's agreed to do the whole series now. He's going to do the novella as well. And he's really good too. And he's working on that. He's working on book two now, which should be, he's thinking around August it'll be out. So hopefully next year, when I'm done with book three, I should be done writing book three by November, December. And once that's all edited, I'll get it to him. The way we can release the audiobook of that same day as all the other copies.
Now, especially with a big book like that, I mean, that's some upfront cost you're sinking into this thing between editing and audiobooks.
Well, not so much the audiobooks, because I do royalty share through ACX.
Oh, okay.
And that's, I see a lot of authors that don't want to do audiobooks because that's their thought process is that it'll take a lot of money to do it. And if you want to pay for, big named narrators, sure. But you go through royalty share and you'll find through ACX thousands and thousands of narrators that are brilliant, that are looking for work, and just need somebody to take a chance on them. So a lot of them you can go through and listen to their reels and their demos and things like that on ACX, and you can find a certain voice you're looking for, a certain accent, or country of origin, male, female, vocal range of high and low, and everything like that, and then go through and kind of pinpoint what you want. And then you set your book in there, put a little snip of your book in there, and put it up for auditions. So then you get all these narrators that are auditioning for your book, and then you can go through and message each one and say, "Hey, can you try this, or can you try that?" And dial it in. And that's what I've done. So, so if there's any authors out there that are looking for narrators and thinking you need a lot of money up front, you don't. Through royalty share, it's real easy. A royalty share, it's still a shit into the deal, but basically ACX will take their portion, and then what's left, they usually take 60%, and then through royalty share, the other 40% gets split between you and the narrator. And I think it's a 7-year contract for the narrator. So for the next 7 years, you and the narrator will split the royalties of it. So that's the downfall of it.
Yeah, I mean, they're taking a risk too there, I guess, that you're going to do your job in promoting the book and trying to get sales. So it actually seems a lot more risky for them than anything else.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You got a book like Whisper's Warbreaker turned out to be around 18 hours for the audiobook.
Yeah.
But 18 hours of finished product, that's, at least for my first narrator, Jez, it took him, a couple months to do it. You got to read it, you got to edit it, and everything like that. And it's, you both want the same high quality that you can produce, because especially if you're going to do a series, you want people coming back every time for each book.
So if you do royalty share, do you still pay them, or do you split the royalties and there's no cost?
There's no cost. So there's royalty share, which is where you just split the royalties. Then there's royalty share plus. Royalty share plus is where you split the royalties, but there's also a caveat of the narrator can ask for a certain amount per finished hour. And then there's just per finished hour pay. So you can choose to either pay them up front, or you can do royalty share, and then a lot of them are like, $100 per finished hour or whatever, something like that.
Mm.
So
Ro and I are both hitting the button. EL, he did his own audiobook, so 18 hours is at least 100 hours of labor.
Yeah, I wanted to do my own, but I ended up not having the room that I needed to make it work. But
it's also
maybe
it's just
one day I'll do.
Something else you have to learn how to do, and the time and the commitment to learn it and get it right, and just speaking into the microphone,
Mm-hmm.
So
I think
if you did it as an author, you would inevitably find something that you didn't quite like, and you just be continuously editing it anyway.
Yeah, I'll just tell the story how I think it should be now.
Right. Let me just tell you what happens.
Yeah, I'll just put the book down, and we'll go ad lib here.
So what's your you said that you plotted it out. I mean, are you a heavy plotter?
I consider myself a plantser, a hybrid of plotting and pantsing, because I will do a chapter outline of where I think each chapter should go, the entire direction of each character, the story, whatever. So I'll put the chapter, I'll come up with the title for the chapter, and I'll put like a paragraph of like, this character does this, or what I want this chapter to end on, or something like that. And then I write, and I try to write on this loose, outline, this plot. And sometimes it doesn't go that way because of the pantsing side of it. And sometimes the pantsing side of it means that, a character kills another one, and then I'm like, well, shit, now I got to go through and either figure out if I want to keep it in or if I want to, change it. And often I end up keeping it in because it feels like organic storytelling. It feels like it was meant to be like that. So then I'll go through and then I'll adjust the whole outline according to that. And that's how I figure out my projections of how big I think the book's going to be. I take an average of, what my chapters have been by how many chapters I think it's going to be. And sometimes it hits, sometimes it don't.
What's this incredible 100K you're hitting?
This month I hit, just today, I hit 100,000 Kindle Unlimited page reads this month. It's the first month I've done that.
Yeah, that means you actually get like a paycheck from them, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, last month was my biggest month ever for royalties, and I released book 2 last month. So I had all those pre-orders come in for book 2. On top of that, I had I think 92,000 Kindle Unlimited reads, and then I thought it's definitely gonna fall off after that, But then this month has turned around to surprise me. The orders weren't as much, but the Kindle reads are higher. So, so the royalties from that are really nice. And each month, basically this year, has gone up and up and up. Like every month this year, I've hit a new milestone. I think it was just back in February. I think it's the first time I hit 40,000 reads. So to now to hit 100,000, it's pretty neat.
Is there a part of you somewhere that's letting yourself start to think now that maybe in the not too distant future that you could just do this?
I've always had the dream of it, I think with each new milestone I hit and the amount of readers I'm getting now, it definitely feels a lot more possible. I think, I don't want to say I think that I'm going to reach that point, because even with the numbers I'm hitting now, in order to quit my job, I would have to do 40 times the amount that I'm doing now.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe one day, but if not, you know, my trajectory is up, and if I can keep it going up, then, you know, that's awesome. If not, then I'll just keep writing, and people find my book, they find my book, and they like it, and I'll keep writing, I'll keep putting them out there. But the ultimate goal is to be a full-time writer, yeah. And I get a lot of success, and I have a lot of people that are either one, you know, congratulating me, or two, saying, "Oh, it must be nice," you know. But I've had 5 years of, you know, shit numbers where I was getting 1 to 2 sales a month. My first 2.5 years, I was getting, you know, a maximum 15 sales a month or something like that. You know, I just figured it out the other day. From 2019 to 2021, so for 2 years. 2 years combined, I had like less than 30,000 Kindle reads and only like 152 sales, something like that.
Hmm.
So to go from that to now, you know, last month I sold like 412 books last month. So to go from 2 years of less than 200 to a month of over 400, you know, trajectory is definitely way up. But, you know, to get where I want to be, I got a long, long way to go.
Yeah, but I mean, at least you got a nice start on it. And,
yeah,
you know, from the point of view of those people who say it must be nice, it must be nice, you know, but it's not like it just fell in your lap. I mean, you had to do the, you know, you had to do the grind to get it. So
that's why every month, at the end of every month this year, I've posted my dashboard, my sales dashboard. And I don't do that to brag. I do that for all the people who are sitting there not getting anything. And I show what I was getting the first few years compared to now, you know, to show that, you know, it's possible. Like, if I can do it, and I'm not great at marketing. I don't run ads. You know, I don't have a lot of money. You know, I got 4 kids, and so I'm not dumping a lot of money into ads and, you know, super expensive editing and book covers and all that stuff like that. It's still possible to, you know, to get something out of, you know, your writing.
So you work construction, you have 4 kids, you're writing books approaching 200,000 words, and you're putting at least one out a year. Holy shit, man. Yeah. So I take it you haven't watched like any TV in a long time.
Well, actually, when that's the problem, is when I do catch a show, it sucks, because then I gotta try to binge through it and then get back to writing, and then try to catch up on writing. But no, I use Google Docs to write. So if I take my laptop to work and I write, you know, on lunch break, and then at night when I get home after the kids go to bed, you know, if I can do 3,500, 4,000 words a day, it stacks up pretty fast. Like I did, Whispers of a World Breaker released in June last year. That was 163,000 words. And then I did the novella, and the novella was short. It was only like 20,000 words. I put that out in November, and then in April this year, I put out 186,000 words. My plan is, because right now I'm about 20,000 words into book 3, so my plan is to write the other 220,000 words by November, which will put me around, you know, a June release again. So if I can do it, if I can put out 1 book a year, then I'm good with that, especially if they're getting that big. And now this is the first time I've plotted 2 books back to back. So I've plotted book 3 and 4 together, both for the story itself and for time, for speed. Because now I can write book 3, do my first round of revisions, you know, send it off for beta and alpha and editing, things like that. And while it's going through that, I can dive into book 4 as the story continues. I've already got plotted out. I already know what's going to happen. and then hopefully, if I can release every 10 to 11 months, that'd be ideal.
So you don't get burned out writing the same series back to back to back to back to back to back to back.
Well, no, yes and no. I always pull up like little things here and there to start doing something different, to give my mind, whether it's a different tone, a different world. And sometimes it can become a problem because then I'm like, I got to get back to the series. But, my mind always comes back to this series because I started planning it, 2.5 years ago now. And then I started writing it, and I've put so much time into the world building of it that, I'll be driving or whatever, and just my mind's just going. This world, this story, there's a lot of characters, and then when I sit down to write, it's like I'm getting right back into it. So I don't really get burned out on it. But if I want to switch up a tone, like I didn't plan on these being grimdark, but people have started calling them grimdark, like grimdark epic fantasy. And after I started actually reading grimdark, they fit, especially the violence. But then I realized that I was trying to lean into that, and I had to pull my mind away from leaning into the darkness of it because I don't want it to be a grimdark story in the end. So what I've started doing just earlier this week, I started writing a grimdark story. It's a Victorian era werewolf story. Just something it's not plotted or anything. I just write it, and I can take my mind into those dark places and then come back to the light side of this series.
So I found with my book, my fourth book took me forever, like 15 months to finally print. And I did 4 books in a row in the same series, and I was done. So I'm actually going to write I have a sci-fi that's coming out this summer, and then I'm going to do a different fantasy, and I'm going to have 3 series going and just go from A to B to C to A to B to C, and that way I'm not going to get burned out again. But if you're doing the little, like the werewolf thing or something, you're also turning your mind on to something else to give it a break. So yeah.
Yeah, and I do this often. I think I've done it for the last couple of years. I'll just like pick a random story that pops into my mind and just start writing it a little bit, just to do that, just to give my mind a little bit of a break. I can see a new series, a new tone, try a new prose, something like that, and not even have a plan to publish it. Just to practice writing something different, to get my mind on something different, and then come back to my series and and see what I can do with that.
So George is demanding to know how many books are planned in your series. And I'm just interpreting his words as demanding because we all know he's very, authoritative.
So the Elmerian Chronicles is going to be broken up into 2 quartets, and it'll be two eras. So there'll be 8 books, 8 novels, and I'm thinking 3, maybe 3 more novellas. So I got about 10,000 years of world history built in my world building notes and things like that. So there'll be basically 4 main books, and then there'll be a time jump into the last 4 books. So 8 total for Elmerian Chronicles.
Only 10,000 years of lore.
Yep.
Ah, man, you're mailing it in.
I was going to do 12, but I thought that was too much.
And how many pages of notes is that on that kind of back?
That's on Google Docs. It's 64 pages.
That doesn't sound too
I have
bad.
a lot of it's not a lot of it's cliff notes. I've set the world up into eras, and they call them ages of man. So there was the first age of man, and where we're at in Elmerian Chronicles right now, we're in the 4th age, and this first era will end with the end of the 4th age of man. Then we'll go into the 5th age of man. And I think, if I remember right, I put this little part in. Every one of my books starts with like a little piece of history. Actually, I think it was book 2. And there's a little piece of history on it. And then in book 2, this little piece says, in the fourth age of man, a prophecy foretold the breaking of the world. The embers of an elf's words reshaped the world, partnering with a vengeance for a time long past. Though she kept the second part of the vision to herself, it would come to pass as surely as the first part, marking the end of the fourth age of man and ushering in a new era of darkness. And that is, foreshadowing the ending of the first era of the Chronicles.
And
so,
after 85 episodes of this show, we've had our first person reading from their book, I think. You're it.
There we go.
See what you missed out on, Smithbow? Fools.
Now, we were talking about narration, I had practiced my accents and things like that so much of reading Whispers of Worldbreaker that I can recite it without reading it now. At least the first few paragraphs I almost know it verbatim. And I practiced that with my British narration accent. So
as long as it doesn't come out sounding like Monty Python, you're good.
No, a lot of people said it sounds like Thor, but
that's not so bad. Hey, you want to take a question from Mike's list of goofy questions?
Sure.
Okay. Ro could tell I was getting all excited and antsy. So number 7. Oh, this one, I think I know the answer. Do you argue with your characters over plot? And if so, who wins?
Yeah, and it's always the characters that win.
Yep, always. You just tell them you need to do this, and they're like, no, that's not what I would do.
So I had you down for doing this, and you wanted to go that way. So
how long did it take before that happened to you, and you realized it? That it's like, wait a minute, this is I'm the writer here.
My first book I did, I plotted it pretty heavy, and well, not my very first book, but my first book in my other series, I plotted it pretty heavy, and it didn't really happen that much in that one. It kind of went pretty well with it. When I started writing Whispers of Worldbreaker, there's a lot more. It's an adult series, so there's a lot more nuances of characters and hatred, and there's factions and all kinds of things. And where I thought I wanted characters to go just didn't turn out that way. I originally started writing it as a YA series, and it just didn't work right. It didn't work right for the world, for the brutality of the world. It didn't work for the characters or how I wanted them to be. So I think probably in Whispers of Worldbreaker is where it really started happening the most. Even down to the last 2 chapters that I had plotted. I had the whole story written. In the last 2 chapters, things just didn't go the way I had them planned. So then I just wrote it and changed it.
It's probably better that happens in the last couple of chapters, if you just got to kind of rewrite that, than some big thing happening, in chapter 12, and you have to go back to chapter 1 and kind of retcon it all.
Well, something did happen. I think there's 54 chapters in Whispers of Warbreaker, and I believe chapter 23 or 24, something big happened that I didn't plan, and I ended up having to go backwards in the book and changing things to line up to that. And then like the subsequent 7 chapters after that, I deleted them off my plot, off my outline, and had to figure out which way it was going to go. Then there was a character that died, and then I had to figure out what I was going to do with my other characters and which direction they were going to go. And none of that was planned. I had a character in book 1. I had his whole scenes written and everything I got ahead of time, and I ended up deleting him out of book 1 and putting him into book 2. Because by then I already knew how his character was, and so he was originally supposed to be in book 1. So it does happen.
That just makes me feel so bad when someone says they have to delete 7 chapters worth of anything, you know.
Well, I originally wrote 72,000 words of Whispers of Warbreaker. Didn't like how it was going and deleted it.
Oh,
So I
You
deleted that, and then
deleted it.
I deleted it. I deleted it, and I sat back and I replotted the whole thing, and figured out what I wanted it to be, and where I wanted it to go, the tone, everything like that, and I started fresh on it.
oh,
So,
this is getting
You didn't just save it and put it aside. You deleted it.
I deleted it. It was my NaNoWriMo. I wrote 72,000 words for NaNoWriMo 2022, and and then I deleted it.
Oh my God, that's.
I don't regret it now. I mean, where it was going compared to where it's going now is way different where it was going. So
this gives me CM Kaplan vibes.
Yeah, right. The guy who writes like 400,000 words and cuts it down to 150 or whatever.
He said the first time he wrote 170,000, and then he went through and he's like, I got to get rid of all the stuff that sucks, and he's left with 40,000 words, and they were not contiguous. So then he had to go and fill in the gaps, and then he had like 180,000. He cut that down to 90,000, and then he did it. And I'm like, oh my God, you wrote 1,000,000 words to get a 180,000 word book out there.
See, I see myself as an underwriter. Every book I've put out, I think, needs something fleshed out more. So I think Whispers of Warbreaker, originally when I finished the first draft, it was like 148,000 words, and then by release time it was 163,000. So it jumped up, 16,000 or whatever words. Just beefing up a lot of things that I not necessarily rushed through, but just needed to flesh out more.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that I did that instead of, having to go through and cut. That would suck.
That's kind of the beauty of the indie author gig, though, isn't it? Is the only person that can tell you to cut is yourself, right? You don't have like a publishing house saying, "Oh, this is great, but you got to lose 30,000 words out of this before we're going to touch it," because they're thinking about book size and paper cost and all that kind of stuff. Which reminds me, I wanted to ask you, seeing the size of that phone book, what do you have to price those at when you like go to shows or something?
I don't know. I've yet to go to a show or anything, but I do sprayed edges. I don't have any more with me now, but I do sprayed edge versions of the books, and I do those for if they're in America, I'll figure in the shipping of that, which is about $6 for shipping, and I think I'm selling them for 35. So that's me getting the alter copy from Amazon, signing it, doing the spray myself, and then shipping it back to somebody. But as far as like pricing on Amazon and stuff goes, I would probably make more if I knew that people were still going to buy it as much if my price was high. But I don't make a lot on my actual physical sales because I keep my price damn near as low as I can.
Yeah.
Just because I want people to read it. I consider last year kind of a reset to my writing career. When this book took off, the series took off, I consider that a reset. So in my mind, I've really been at this for a year now. I've learned a lot in the first 4 years, but as far as what people know me by on any social media, it's this series. And so I'm trying to keep the price as low as possible because I think, at least for me, getting the story to as many people as possible with the thinnest barrier as possible is more important than, raking in a bunch of money. Eventually that'll come. If I keep my price as low as possible and the more people are interested in it because of that, then that's great. I've played it a lot with the ebook prices because ebook pricing and market, that's like a whole different beast than physical copy marketing. And that kind of shifts a little bit too, and so you gotta kind of watch the marketing of that a little bit. But so I think Whispers of Warbreaker I have set at like, I want to say the paperback is $13 or $14. for 580 pages.
Wow,
That's cheap.
you're underselling that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
At Comic-Cons and things like that, you will see most people selling paperbacks 16 to $20, and they're not half the size.
Yeah, and I've checked out bookstores and things like that, and I've checked out some prices of books too.
Yeah, but they're a lot higher than that. You go to Barnes and Noble,
Yeah.
you're not touching a paperback for $13.
No, books half my size are selling for 20.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's going to be on me for a while, but the more that people get into the series, the more books I'll sell, which will get more people talking about it, and that snowball effect I was talking about. So,
absolutely,
to me right now, and probably for the next couple of years, that'll be what I do. Like the ebook for the first book is still set at 99 cents, and I'll always leave it there because that's the first book, and if somebody's just now discovering me, then 99 cents is a very low risk for somebody to pay for almost a 600-page book.
Yeah.
And if they're like, well, I'll try it for $1. If they like it, then book 2, that price is a little bit higher. It's $3. But by the time I have 8 books out in the series, one person has read all of them and they've told 5 people, and half those people, so it builds and builds. And so
it's good that you're taking the long view of that. How'd you get into edge spraying?
Just did it. I saw a lot of special editions of books out there that either had gilded edges or foiled edges and things like that. And I was looking at my book and I thought that'd be really cool. But then I was looking at the coloring of it and stuff, and I thought it just wouldn't look right. So I ended up going with black. And I wish I had another one here, but I just sent them off. But so this is all black all the way around, and with the black and white, it just looks really cool. And when you open it up, you see just the whole black on the edge as you're reading it. I've sold, I don't know, maybe 30 of those that I've done now. And then I've done a couple of the novellas now. And then once I get the hardcovers for book 2 out, then I'll offer those as well. But no, I just did it. I didn't, I did a lot of art and stuff like that. I've painted a lot, and I thought I'd just figure it out. So I went and took some wax paper and covered the whole cover of it. And then I played around with, make sure it was all covered, and realized that the edging of the spine there, that little piece, and I can wrap all of this, but that little piece there was a pain in the ass. So I had to figure out how to get that covered, and then just clamp it down and sprayed it. The first couple I did end up having paint on the inside of the hard case, but I figured out how to dial it in a little bit better. It's pretty easy to do. Takes a little bit of time, but
just like an airbrush kind of thing.
Yeah, spray can, Rust-Oleum.
Really?
Yep, Rust-Oleum black, matte black.
Yeah.
So
I was going to offer red too, but what's that?
So you didn't have any like little templates like of swords or anything that were not sprayed?
No, I've thought about doing that. I've thought about doing it with dragons because my wife has a cricket and she can probably cut something out for me. But I have a symbol. I don't have one printed or anything, but I actually have a symbol for the series. Eventually, I might, put them on the covers, the spine or something like that, or maybe not. I don't know. And I thought about doing that symbol on it as well. And the symbol itself is a triangle with a mountain, and then each one of the weapons are the factions. So you have the sword, the axe, the hammer, the spear, the poleaxe, and it's all the different factions that are in my world. So you have the humans, the elves, the dwarves, the orcs, and the druids. And that symbol, I've thought about getting it put on there, but I don't know, maybe not. Maybe one day.
Okay, I have another question for my silly questions that I have to ask you because I have to ask you this question.
Okay.
Do you have a preferred method for killing dragons?
kill dragons, man.
I've had some dragons die in my books. Preferred way, no. But as far as how the dragons have been killed in my books, it's usually with a dragon mage sword or something to, open up the skull and then shoot magic to it. So.
Okay.
Does that make you happy, Mike? You good now?
I'm good. When I start writing my series, I was like, you know what? Everyone does dragons. I'm not doing dragons. And then people at Comic-Con kept saying, are there dragons in this? So book 4, right here over my shoulder, has a dragon on the cover, and he's in the book because I got tired of being asked. I'm like, okay, it's fantasy. You win. So.
Beat you into submission, man. Make you sell out.
I also said there's only humans in book 2, which is right here, has a centaur on the cover. So, these hard and fast rules I make are neither hard nor fast.
Nor
rules.
Yeah.
What's your dice say, Mike?
Oh, okay. Let's see here.
That's a serious question.
Oh, serious question.
Oh, if you've already got the other one rolled, that's fine too. We got time.
Okay. We're going to go with, if you could have any mythical creature as a pet, which one would you choose and why?
It has to be a dragon.
I figured that was coming.
Yep.
What kind of dragon? Are there different kinds in your world or just?
There are. So my main dragons are what I call traditional dragons, 4 legs and 2 wings. Yeah. I also have dragics, which are basically wyverns.
Yeah.
2 wings, 2 legs. I have drakes, wingless dragons. And then in book 3, I'm introducing the sea dragons. And then in book 4, I don't want to spoil that one yet, but there's another type of dragon I'm gonna put in that one. But the traditional dragon, that would be my pick.
You gotta actually have something small enough where you can put it like in the back of your truck, so that you never have issues on the road.
There we go.
Just if people get too close,
burst of flame, and the brake checkers are done away with, and all that.
There we go.
Probably help you on the work site too. You never have to climb a ladder again.
There we go. Hold me up. We'll hire.
Get me up onto the roof.
So, what is the last rabbit hole that you've gone down researching for one of your books that you can talk about? Because if it hasn't come out yet, you may not.
Really, the last big rabbit hole I kind of went down was when I was plotting it out, planning it, and that was energy. There are 5 magic systems in my book, but the main one from the main character, his magic system is based on energy. And I went down months of research of how one energy can transfer to another energy, like magnetic to static to momentum, light, nuclear, sound, everything like that. Yeah. And I went down quite a bit of research for that to figure out how I could adapt that into my magic system for him. Mm-hmm. So their magic is powerful, but it's not fast. It's not, you say a spell and then, shit happens. So like if he wants to make fire, you have to know the elements of what it takes to make a fire, oxygen, heat source, and a spark. And he has to actually combine those things to make a flame. So he can't just make fire. So it makes the magic system powerful because of all the things you can do with it, energy, but it makes it risky and it makes it, you have to know what you're doing. Not anybody can just excel at magic because you have it.
That's kind of nice having that kind of built-in limitation on it. So it's not just an easy fix for whatever ails you,
Yeah, and it takes a lot of, and that's kind of a lot of Ulrich's big things. He ends up, finding that go-to spell that he does, which, first couple of books, it's just light. He likes doing these beams of light because he knows what the tendrils of light looks like, and it's quick. He can concentrate the heat on it and burn somebody. But if something happens that he has to think on the spot, a lot of times he gets tripped up on it, and he's not able to get out of a lot of things because a lot of energy that happens, or the way it shifts from one source to another, he can't see it. A lot of times like that, he can't see it, and then he kind of gets messed up on it.
Do you ever, when you're writing that though? I mean, my books, I have the same kind of thing. There's a couple of spells that they go to a lot, right? Just because they're useful.
Mm-hmm.
But as I'm writing it, I'm always thinking they've got to know something else, right?
Yeah.
Because you get kind of bored writing that, and you kind of wonder if, maybe the reader gets bored seeing it as well. But part of me thinks it's not that big a deal so long as they don't forget they can do things, right? And you see that shit in Harry Potter all the time. It's like, wow, this spell that you used in the last book would have come in really freaking handy. Did you forget it?
That was always a big gripe of mine with Harry Potter. The most popular spell they learned in book 1, Wingardium Leviosa. Why they never use that spell again blows my mind. The amount of shit you can levitate for a fight. I mean, you pick somebody up and sling them across the room, pretty sure they'll drop that wand.
Oh, that big fight at the last one where all these people are going over this skinny little bridge. Yeah, you could have just been dropping them off the bridge.
Yep. Throwing cars at them, anything. I was, and how I went about my character learning his magic system was that so spoiler alert, he gets a dragon, but when he gets his magic, he doesn't really have anybody to train him because he's a human dragon mage, which is called an Elmerian. And while the elves have magic from their dragons, or a lot of the elves have innate magic, it is a different magic system, and Art cannot use it. So he doesn't really have anybody to train him. So as far as like the energy and the tendrils and things like that, he has to learn to see them, see what each tendril is, and understand what they are, understand how things work. And you get that a lot through the first book, where he first starts learning about light, like sunlight's coming down. He's watching the tendrils of the shadow or the light. He figures out that he can bend the light, and it casts a shadow on him. So then he learns that he can actually control the flow of the tendrils, the flow of the threads of light, of the energy itself. He watches fire, watches a campfire, and watches, the particles of carbon coming off of it. He's trying to understand the difference between the carbon and the oxygen in the air. The oxygen is burning and they're moving faster, and things like that. So he had to go through and figure all that out. So in a quick fight, he might throw a light beam, but if he gets a chance to really think about it, which comes up in a lot more in book 2, he starts using momentum a lot more because he starts learning from somebody. He learns how each tendrils actually flow into each other and they work together, and how you can easily shift them. So then he starts trying stuff. He fails a few times in book 2. Like he tries creating wind and catching it with his cloak so he can fly or hover, and he crashes to the roof of a building. But it doesn't always work out, And I think that adding that realism to trying something new,
you need to be trying to get into Spithbow every year until you finally get in. That sounds pretty fascinating, actually.
And then I got all the other magic systems I've created. The elves' magic system, Valerian, which I didn't know this. I didn't read Game of Thrones before I started this. Apparently Valerian is used. But so the elves using Valerian, and theirs is very much a spell-based magic. So they can do a lot of shit that Elmerians cannot do. Like, bind you in place or put a curse on you, things like that. And Elmerians cannot do that because there's just a whole different magic system based on energy. Mm-hmm. So then when you got to try to fight an elf, then you really got to think on the spot because your light beams aren't doing anything against their wards. And then you got the orcs. Orcs have Ornthuk, and their system of magic is called Furin, and it's based off of potentials. So when you kill something, it's kind of hard to explain this one. When they kill something, they can absorb the potentials of what that life would have had. So say you kill a dog, anything that that dog would have done in its life if you would not have cut its fate off right there. So from that point on to the future, whatever it would have done, killed somebody, saved a life, anything, that power is harnessed, and then they can use it to basically create. They can create with it whatever they want: fire, tendrils, weapons. It is a very powerful and fast magic, but it's also very unpredictable because you never know what the fate of something was. Right. So you might kill a guy that was meant to die tomorrow and think that you're going to have enough power to fight, and then lo and behold, you didn't really get much from him. So they start using seeds. A lot of the orcs start using seeds, specifically fruit tree seeds. These fruit trees that were planted in the orchards that would feed generations, and those hold a lot of potential. So they start using those. They would crush them, take the potentials from them, and they have their power. Then you have the druids. My druids are shapeshifters, and they have this power of deception. They basically can make you, not so much you see, but they can make an area look like something else. Anything around them. So you can walk right by a druid and not know they're there. And then I won't talk about the dwarves because they didn't come until book 2, but they have a magic system as well.
That's all very cool. It's very, very kind of detailed. I mean, you must have, I'm assuming that you have some type of like book Bible that you can refer to help you remember all this stuff.
Well, I have my world building notes, and a lot of it's in my mind now. I've built this world, and I've come to know it. I've come to know the races, the factions, the cultures, and things like that to such a deep level that that I can just add it in wherever I want to. So, like book 3 will be the first time I use a druid point of view. But I already know how their whole magic system works, how their culture works of their druid groves, and they see their treants as their gods. They worship them, they bow down to them, they listen to them, even though the treants are just another race. So when I go to add that POV in, I already have all of this in mind, going into
it. Okay, so I have a silly question, but it has real world implications.
Okay.
So last night we were on, and I was showing the tattoo that I told people I'd get if we get up to 500 subscribers. And the guy said, "Oh, you're really underselling it. You need to, shoot for 1,000 by the end of the year, not 500." So we're sitting at 220 now. So if I were to get this tattoo, what is the number of subscribers we need for me to get this tattoo? What would you say?
221.
Good answer.
You can make that happen, Corey, unless you've already subscribed.
You know what? Here, let me log on to my laptop here.
We're on 221 now.
Oh, okay. So
there you go.
I told people if we get to 500, I will get this tattoo by the end of the year. And Jonathan Weiss was like, "You're underselling it. You go for 1,000 by the end of the year." And I'm like, I would love to get 1,000. I actually am looking forward to getting this tattoo. I'm just trying to.
We get 1,000, I might get ink. I am inkless.
I have to share the link to this one all over.
So, hey, somebody brought up in here that we didn't get into the Harry Dumbledore Snape debate. You've obviously read Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the hero of Harry Potter?
By the literature side of it?
No, as you read it and you look at the characters, and by the end of the series, who's the real hero of that story?
I'd still say Harry is.
Damn it, I'm going to die on this mountain alone, aren't I? All right, that's fine.
I'm in all seriousness, I'm starting to think Dumbledore more and more.
See, I don't think Dumbledore is, because Dumbledore knew a lot of shit, and he made a lot of choices that, if he would have switched his choices, things would have turned out much differently.
Yeah, he was just full of child neglect.
Yeah.
He was focused on what had to happen, and he was willing to sacrifice people, including Harry, which I'm okay with.
Yeah, he had a god complex.
Yeah.
He could have ended it all. He had the Elder Wand. He could just
Yeah. Here we go. Right on. Right on, EL. Woo-hoo.
and he played favorites. He wasn't a very good headmaster.
No, he was an ass. But that's all right. Harry's a fine choice, I guess. Even though he's kind of a little bitch, but whatever.
At least you
Yeah,
didn't say
so-
Hermione.
So my series that I started before the series is a YA series. Is very much a love letter to Harry Potter. I mean, down to way too many close things that I'm surprised I didn't get sued for. And the plan was to do that, and then have all these things that are so mirror-like of Harry Potter, and then in book 2, everything was going to get all fucked up and smash it, and then it was going to flip into, what it was always going to meant to be. But I took a lot of things that Harry Potter did and I flipped them. So my series is, the first book is Lucas Hale and the Founder's Key. And while the story is quite a bit different, a lot of it's very similar. And I made Lucas Hale part of the house that was equivalent to Slytherin. So he was bad, or he was part of the bad house. And that comment. It was something I specifically did not want to do. I did not want to make Lucas Hale a bitch. So Lucas Hale is basically a combination of Harry and Hermione together. But he figures out a lot of things on his own. He has bad trust issues with people because his grandfather's a dick and forces him to train really hard and everything like that. So their school has all the magic classes, plus they have what's called confliction, which is a martial arts. And I kind of took that from a lot of the martial arts that I learned. And so they have an actual hand-to-hand style combat. And then a lot of the little issues I had with Harry Potter, I went through and purposely poked to fix things. So like they don't use a wand, they use a bracelet. And the bracelet, there's a whole scene of how the bracelet's made, how it connects with your blood, and it's basically bound to you. And it's called a Bacorvus. And there's a scene that's meant to poke fun of Harry Potter where Lucas asks his grandfather why they don't use wands anymore like they used to. And he says, so what? So your wand can get broke or somebody can throw it out of your hand, then you won't have it? So there's like a lot of points throughout that book that kind of poke fun of Harry Potter a little bit. The whole economy system, the school itself, everybody expecting the kids to take up all the fights when you got a headmaster and all these teachers that are supposed to have decades worth of experience, yet they never fought anything till the end. So I poked a lot of it. But.
I always kind of wondered that with Harry Potter. I think the first or second movie, as we were watching it, even reading the books, I always kind of turned to my wife and said, I would think some sort of lanyard would be in order, or drill a little hole in the bottom of this freaking wand and put a loop around it so you don't drop this son of a bitch. It doesn't seem that difficult to figure out. You can do magic. You could certainly sort that, right?
I mean, especially since there's a spell that is specifically designed for that. They say Expelliarmus, and there goes your wand. Didn't want it. That was another reason why I added a martial arts system to it. So if you couldn't do magic, or there was wards in place, something like that, then everybody was trained to fight as well. They were trained to fight physically.
So you had to have some talent other than just saying the right magic word and waving your wrist.
Yeah, and then I added a level to their magic as well. I'm not a huge fan of soft magic systems. Like even my soft magic systems in my book, in my Omarian Chronicles, they each have a certain amount of limitation or rule to them. And that was always something I was bugged with in Harry Potter too. Was anybody can learn a spell as long as they got a wand and they're a witch wizard, then they could do it. Then they had these forbidden curses and everything like that. But if you could just say a single spell and then it happens every time, no matter what, as long as your wand's in good order. So I I poked a little bit of that too, and the magic system I put in there was basically the same thing, a spell, whatever, but it needed a lot of willpower so each spell couldn't just work the same amount of force every time. You had to have a certain amount to do it. Like a lot of the spells that are specifically designed to injure, like you really had to have a lot of hate or rage or strong will to protect, but you had to have a strong will of hurting somebody to even use it. You couldn't just say it and then it happens. So I added that little level to it.
I mean, that's good because you're learning something about the character. If I, do the smack you across the face spell and you just go like this, I'm teasing. If you get tumbled back 3 times and you know that I was pissed, I mean, you're giving some insight into the person instead of the magic word has been entombed, said. And
yeah, there's like there's a scene in there in the first book where Lucas and his friend Robbie they're getting chased by werewolves, and Robbie's in there trying to do this spell, and it's not really working. And then they see the werewolf, and it comes at him, and then he's scared shitless, and that fear gives him the will to do this spell properly. So it's a lot of those tied into willpower and things like that.
Well, cool. Well, we appreciate you having the willpower to come out and talk to us for an hour on Friday night and a long weekend.
I appreciate you having me on.
And your new book drops your cover reveal is the 12th of June?
Yep, June 12th.
Okay. So absolutely, if you don't follow Corey on X, it's at @the_Elmerian, ELMERIAN. Or you can just type in Corey Ratliff and it will bring you right to him.
Yeah, you can Google me now.
Yeah, let's put your website back up there real quick. And you want to just show us the cover of your your soon to be released book here one more time?
Well, the one that just came out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one just came out last month. It's Bloods of a Withering Kingdom. It's pretty long.
Get you through the weekend?
A couple weekends.
I should think. All right. Corey from Ohio, thank you very much. For all the folks who stuck around with us for over an hour tonight, thank you for being here as always. Mike, you got anything?
No, I showed my tattoo I want to get that Corey was such a big fan of. That's about it.
All right.
So now it's time to wave awkwardly.
One thing left to do, Corey, and that's wave awkwardly while Mike signs us out.